to them. All starts Eastern Standard Time. On deck, we've got the Knicks taking on the Cavaliers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Cleveland. The Cavs are minus 1.5 total at 217. We saw a flip of the line in this one as Cleveland opened as the 1-point dog. We also saw movement downward on the total. Cleveland opened +1, now minus 1.5. Total open 218, down to 217. 52% are leaning Cavaliers, 51% on the over. Right now, the Knicks are plus 105 on the money line. Now, New York, they've covered 6 out of their last 8 games. They successfully covered the point spread against the likes of Indiana, Toronto, the Lakers, and Philadelphia. New York ranks in the top 10 in offensive rebounding, so they're not completely, helpless or hopeless. Peyton and Ntilikina, they are questionable for tonight's action. Possible we should see them. But Marcus Morris, 19 points a game, 6 rebounds for him. Julius Randle, 19 points a game, double-digit rebounds for him. And Reggie Bullock, 10 points a game for this Knicks team. The Knicks, 13-12 against the spread on the road. Not all that bad there. Now, Cleveland on the other side, losers of 9 out of their last 10. They also failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 7. Cleveland failed to cover against the likes of Golden State, Chicago, Washington, and this very Knicks team during that stretch of games. They rank in the bottom 5 in scoring, bottom 10 in offensive field goal percentage. Now, Cleveland really struggling at home this year. Winners of just 6 out of 26 home games. They also went just 9-17 against the spread in those 26. Cleveland ranks in the bottom 10 in points allowed, dead last in the association in defensive field goal percentage. Cleveland, second to last in the East, 8.5 games back for the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, 6 out of Cleveland's last 6 games all went over the number. They're also 80% of the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean New York Knicks plus 1.5 and the over 217 in that contest. Next game. Sixers taking on the Heat, 7:30 Eastern tip-off in Miami. The Heat are minus 3 total at 213. We saw a 1-point move toward the Heat, movement downward on the total. Miami opened 2, up to minus 3. Total opened 214, down to 213. 61% are leaning Miami, 69% on the over. Right now, the Sixers are plus $1.40 on the money line. Now, if you like the Sixers in this spot here catching points, it still might not matter. They're just horrible on the road this year. Winners of just 9 out of 26 road games. They also went just 8-18 against the spread in those games away from home. Philadelphia, bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 10 from the stripe. They've lost 3 out of their last 5 games, and they went just 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. Now, they failed to cover against the likes of Atlanta, Golden State, and the Knicks during that stretch. They're also in the bottom 10 in road scoring, bottom 10 in defending the 3-ball on the road. Right now, they're averaging just 105 points per contest when traveling. Josh Richardson still out indefinitely. Now, Miami on the other side, winners of 6 out of their last 9. They're also 21-3 straight up on their home court. They rank in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage, top 3 in shooting the 3-ball. They are currently tied for the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're just 2 games back of the 2nd seed. Jimmy Butler, 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Kendrick Nunn, 16 points a game, 4 assists for the Heat. And Goran Dragic, 16 points a game, 5 assists for him. This Miami squad ranks in the top 3 in defensive rebounding, top 10 in home scoring. Now, total-wise, Miami's 15-9 to the over at home. 2 out of Philly's last 3 got over the number as well. I'm going to lean Miami Heat minus 3 and the over 213 in that matchup. Next game, Phoenix versus the Nets, 7:30 Brooklyn. The Nets open 1.5 up to minus 2. Total open 228.5 down to 228 even. Brooklyn 3-2 straight up in their last 5, 60% against the spread in those 5 games. Brooklyn ranks in the top 3 in offensive rebounding. They're also in the top 5 in the association in defensive field goal percentage. Now, Kyrie Irving, he's back on the injury report. He is out indefinitely with a knee. But Spencer Dinwiddie, 22 points a game, 7 assists. Joe Harris, 14 points a game, 4 rebounds for him. And Karis LeVert, 13 points a game, 4 rebounds for Brooklyn. The Nets are 13-12 straight up at home this year. They're also 13-12 against the spread in those home games. They rank in the top 5 in home offensive rebounding, top 10 in home defensive field goal percentage. Phoenix on the other side, losers of 5 out of their last 7. They also went just 2-5 against the spread in those 7 games. They failed to cover against the likes of Memphis and San Antonio during that stretch. Rubio, Baines, Saric, Johnson, and Jerome all listed as questionable for tonight's action. Phoenix, bottom 10 in offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage. They're currently the 11th seed in the West at just 20 and 29 overall for this season. Now, 2 out of Phoenix's last 3 actually got over the number. Meanwhile, Brooklyn, 70% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean Brooklyn Nets -2 in the over 228 in that contest. Next game, Celtics taking on the Hawks, 7:30 Atlanta. The Celtics opened as the 5-point favorite, up to -5.5. Total opened 227, up to 227 and a hook. Atlanta just 3-5 straight up in their last 8. They've also won just 8 out of 24 home games this year. They have a small army of guys on the injury report. Alex Len, Jabari Parker, they're both still out indefinitely, nothing changing there. Cam Reddish, he's been ruled out for tonight's action. DeAndre Bembry, he's been downgraded to doubtful. Alan Crabb, Trae Young, Hunter, Fernando, they're all listed as questionable for tonight's action. And even when those guys do play, we're looking at an Atlanta team who ranks in the bottom 10 in scoring, dead last in shooting the 3 ball. They're just 13 and 37 overall for the year, and they are tied with Cleveland for the 14th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're currently 8.5 games back of the 8th seed. They're in the bottom 10 in offensive rebounding, bottom 3 in points allowed. They're giving up 118 points per contest. Boston on the other side, just steamrolling people, 6-1 straight up in their last 7. They successfully covered the point spread in 6 out of those 7 as well. They covered against Philadelphia, Miami, and the Lakers during that stretch. They also rank in the top 3 in points allowed, top 5 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, Cantor and Smart, they're listed as questionable. Kemba Walker, he's out, but we still have other role players. Jason Tatum, 22 points a game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Jaylen Brown, 20 points a game, 7 rebounds. And Gordon Hayward, 17 points a game, 6 boards for him. We're looking at a Boston team who's 15-8 against the number when traveling. They also rank in the top 5 in road offensive rebounding. They're currently the 3rd seed in the East, 2 games back for the 2nd seed at 33 and 15 overall for the year. Now the Hawks are 80% to the over in their last 10, 29 and 21 to the over on the year. I'm going to lean Boston -5.5 and the over 227 and a hook in that matchup. Next game, it is going to be Pistons taking on the Grizzlies. 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Memphis. The Grizzlies open as the 6-point favorite, up to 6.5. Total open 230.5 down to 230. Memphis 4-1 straight up in their last 5, 80% against the spread in those 5 games. They rank in the top 10 in scoring, top 5 in offensive field goal percentage. Jaren Jackson, 18 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. John Morant, 18 points a game, 7 assists for him. And Jonas Valanciunas, 15 points a game, double-digit rebounds for the Grizzlies. Now, Iguodala and Allen are still out indefinitely. Brandon Clark is questionable. But regardless, Memphis is averaging 115 points per contest on their home court. Pistons on the other side, losers of 5 out of their last 6. They also went just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8. They failed to cover against the likes of Washington, Memphis, Cleveland, and Brooklyn twice during that stretch. They rank in the bottom 10 in scoring, dead last in offensive rebounding. A couple more things to add about this Detroit team. They've won just 8 out of their 24 road games this year. They also went just 8-16 against the spread in those matchups. They rank in the bottom 5 in defensive field goal percentage, bottom 10 in road offensive rebounding. Now the Pistons are 80% to the over in their last 10. Memphis 4-3 to the over in their last 7. I'm going to lean Grizzlies -6.5 and the over 230 in that contest. Next game, T-Wolves taking on the Kings, 10 o'clock Sacramento. The Kings open 2.5 down to -2. Total open 222.5 down to 222 even. 50. I don't know if that's right. I wrote down here Sacramento 222.5 down to 228. That doesn't make any sense. So the total is somewhere between 222 and 228. Sorry, guys. Look it up. Let me know in the comments section below. But once again, Sacramento open as the 2.5-point favorite, down to -2. 57% are leaning Kings, 63% shaded toward the over. Right now, the T-Wolves are plus $1.15 on the money line. Now, if you like Minnesota in this spot here, just keep in mind they've lost 11 straight. They also went just 1-10 against the spread in those 11 defeats. Minnesota ranks in the bottom 5 in offensive field goal percentage, bottom 5 in points allowed. They're giving up 115 points per game. They're also just 9-15 straight up away from home. T-Wolves last in defensive rebounding, bottom 5 in points allowed on the road. They're currently the 14th seed in the Western Conference, 8.5 games back of the 8th seed, and they're allowing 117 points per contest when traveling. Now, Sacramento on the other side, winners of 3 out of their last 5. They also went 60% against the spread in those 5 games. The Kings rank in the top 10 in defensive rebounding. Buddy Hield, 20 points a game, 5 rebounds. De'Aaron Fox, 20 points a game, 7 assists, and 2 steals. And of course, Harrison Barnes, 14 points a game, 5 rebounds for him. Sacramento, 90% of the over in their last 10. Minnesota, 60% of the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean Sacramento -2 and the over in that matchup. All right, next game, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Spurs-Clippers, 10:30 Los Angeles. The Clippers open as the 9-point favorite, up to -10. Total open 229, down to 228. 52% are leaning Clippers, 51% on the over. Right now, the Spurs are plus 425 on the money line. The Spurs 6-2 against the spread in their last 8. The Spurs successfully covered the point spread over the likes of Utah, the Pelicans, and Miami during that stretch. They're also 13-9 against the spread when traveling this year. San Antonio ranks in the top 10 in scoring, top 10 in offensive field goal percentage. DeMar DeRozan, 23 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. LaMarcus Aldridge, 19 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And Patty Mills, 12 points a game, 2 assists for the Spurs. San Antonio ranks in the top 10 in road scoring, top 5 in road offensive field goal percentage. They're averaging 114 points per game. Now, 2 out of the Spurs' last 3 did get over the number. They're also 14-8 to the over when traveling. The Clippers on the other side, 5-4 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me San Antonio plus 10 and the over 228 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 4-1 in our last 5 daily best plays on that website. Shout out to Stephen Lewis, Guardian Angel, Jay Valeres, Ace Goated, Vince Aurelio, Ant Ruga, Vernon Williard, Pittsburgh Gentleman PA, Mariana Jallo, V. Rudy, shout out to MJ, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to Terry Wu. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.